Hip-hop. Definition, progenitors, and evolution.
They could have done more. Maybe not what I did, but they could have done more to how can I say, enhance the mix. I mean, as far as for the people that paid their hard-earned money to come into the discotheques, I don't think it's totally fair, really, to just start the record from the beginning and then wait for it to end and mix the next record in. I mean, you're not doing no work. I mean, if you're gonna do work, do work.
The topic of this presentation is the style of music known as hip-hop. The point is that hip-hop has had an enormous influence on popular music and American culture, and hip-hop is marked by two unique and newly invented musical attributes, breakbeats and rapping. Here are the learning objectives. After watching this video or listening to the audio, you should be able to cite the 4 elements of hip-hop culture, define the primary techniques of turntabling, describe the essential attributes of hip-hop music, name influential turntablists and MCs, and trace the evolution of hip-hop from the 1970s to the 1990s. Definition. Hip-hop is a music and arts movement invented by African Americans and Latino Americans in the 1970s. Its genesis occurred during neighborhood block parties held in the Bronx borough of New York City. At these parties, DJs played funk, soul, and disco music through sound systems while people danced, drank, and socialized. Several artistic activities emerged from these gatherings, including turntabling, Emceeing, breakdancing, and graffiti writing. These activities make up the 4 elements of hip-hop culture, which are represented by the following artist types: disc jockeys, MCs, breakdancers, and graffiti writers. Disc jockeys, also known as DJs, street DJs, or turntablists, were the most important element to the inception of hip-hop. This is because they owned the sound systems that were critical to the success of the block parties, and because they had the turntabling skills that were critical to the aesthetics of the music. As the Grandmaster Flash quote above indicates, disc jockeys began doing more than just playing records from the beginning to end. Instead, they started inventing methods for prolonging and augmenting existing musical material through the manual manipulation of the record player, which is a skill that became known as turntabling. Here's a brief synopsis of turntabling. A DJ in the hip-hop style uses 2 turntables and a DJ mixer to create breakbeats. Turntables are record players, and DJ mixers are devices that facilitate crossfading between the 2 turntables. A breakbeat is an instrumental figure from a popular song that is prolonged and manipulated by turntabling techniques. There are many techniques of turntablism, but the following are especially prominent. Backspinning. The turntablist cycles a record back to the beginning of a musical figure to create a loop while playing the same record simultaneously on the other turntable. Beat matching. The turntablist switches back and forth between 2 records playing songs with similar beats. Scratching. The turntablist adds smearing effects by rhythmically pushing one record back and forth rapidly. And punch phrasing. The turntablist splashes short instrumental figures, usually horn blasts, onto breakbeats maintained by the other record. By employing these techniques, the DJs provided the musical underpinnings for rapping, which is a highly rhythmic form of chanted poetry. Rapping evolved from Jamaican toasting, which was a form of chanted speech that typically involved calling out the names of the people at the party and reciting rhymes. The tradition evolved in Jamaica and was associated with the reggae and dub styles of music. The tradition of Jamaican toasting evolved into the tradition of hip-hop rapping as we know it today. In the hip-hop tradition, the rapper is known as the MC, or capital M, capital C. When the style was developing, the turntablists often pulled double duty as the MC and DJ, but eventually, as the style evolved, a clear division of labor became normal. The DJs made the beats, and the MCs made the rhymes. Another facet of the hip-hop tradition was provided by breakdancers, who perform specialized dance moves marked by acrobatic alternations of hand and foot contact with the ground, wave-like limb manipulations, and other rhythmic undulations and motions. In the language of hip-hop culture, breakdancers are known as b-boys and b-girls. The venues for these music and dance performances, block parties, were often located on streets flanked by graffiti-covered buildings and housing complexes. Aerosol artists, or graffiti vandals, depending on your point of view, worked to perfect their tags. on these structures. Tags are highly stylized renderings of nicknames, usually illicitly painted on buildings and other pieces of infrastructure, especially under bridges and on rooftops. The graffiti writers operating in the Bronx during the late 1970s provided hip-hop's visual component, and some of their paintings are not only huge, but possessing of a peculiar brand of urbane beauty. Figure 1. Breakdancing was at its peak of popularity during the mid-1980s. By this time, the art form had absorbed the West Coast traditions of popping and locking. Pictured here is the breakdancing group called the Rocksteady Crew, around 1983. Known as B-boys and B-girls, the breakdancers were responsible for contributing the kinesthetic element of hip-hop culture, that is to say, the body movement element. Graffiti also played a role in the culture of hip-hop. Neighborhood block parties took place on streets whose buildings were festooned with tags, doodles, and street slang. Progenitors. DJ Kool Herc, born in 1955, given name Clive Campbell, emigrated from Kingston, Jamaica to the South Bronx in 1967. By 1972, while still a teenager, he was already operating as a professional street DJ in the South Bronx. Figure 2. DJ Kool Herc is an American hip-hop artist sometimes called the father of hip-hop. His primary innovation was the invention of break beats, which are prolongations of the instrumental breaks of pop songs. Herc invented one of the most important techniques of turntablism, the technique of beat matching. "I'm going to try something new tonight," he explains in a documentary video produced in the UK. "I'm going to call it the merry-go-round."
If they're waiting for this particular break, and I have a couple more records that's got the same breakup in it, I wonder how would it be if I put them all together. And I told them, I said, I'm going to try something new tonight. I'm going to call it the merry-go-round.
Herc's merry-go-round meant that instead of playing whole records, he would play just the instrumental breaks, mixing between them to create a continuous dance rhythm.
I started out with lean down, dance around, clap your hand, stomp your feet. That part right there, when the break, boom, I had to come in with bongo rock.
Herc's merry-go-round featured the instrumental breaks of several pop records mixed back-to-back to form one continuous instrumental track. Due to this innovation, Herc is sometimes called the father of hip-hop. Part of the reason Herc was so successful was that he possessed an enormously loud and large PA system that could be heard from a distance in the Bronx. Therefore, he could start the largest parties. Herc was influential in other regards. Instead of talking to the audience between songs, he began intoning rhymes while egging on the dancers and doing shout-outs. Herc's rhyming was influenced by Jamaican toasting, which is a form of rhythmic speech that is supported by a live music backdrop. The tradition was common in Jamaica and centered on the reggae and dub scene. To further embellish his mixing and rhyming, Herc also began using audio effects common to Jamaican dub, like echo splashes and EQ filters. Grandmaster Flash, born in 1958, given name Joseph Saddler, is a turntablist and MC who was operating at the dawn of the hip-hop era in the Bronx. Joseph Saddler emigrated to America from Barbados. His father was a record-collecting music aficionado, and young Saddler took up his father's mantle in this regard. He also studied electronic equipment repair at Samuel Gompers High School, which is a public school focused on vocational training. Saddler, as a teenager, filled his bedroom with DJ gear and PA system equipment. He was already operating at the professional level as a teenager. Figure 3. Samuel Gompers High School was a vocational high school in the South Bronx. Grandmaster Flash attended this school and learned how to repair electronic equipment. As a teenager, Flash became a proficient turntablist who was active professionally in the Bronx during the beginning of hip-hop. Saddler studied closely the techniques of turntablism developed by DJ Kool Herc and improved upon those techniques in his own approach to professional DJing. He is credited with inventing the backspinning and punch phasing techniques of turntabling. Backspinning is the accurate recycling of a critical breakbeat section of a pop record so as to create a looped figure, and punch phrasing is the splashing of short instrumental figures, usually horn blasts, onto breakbeats maintained by the other record.
The first phase of break mixing I will show you is called the punch phase, where I will take the foot from the 4 bars of Billie Jean and just fake it in as such. And at this moment, I will proceed to warm up till I get things going. Right there, that's what we call scratch phase. Actually being on the beat itself and manipulating my wrists back and forth as I continue. What I'm about to do right about here is called a silent phase. Doing it on beat where I left off. The next phase that I'm about to do is called, I entitle it the melodic scratch.
While playing parties in the Bronx, Sadler began collaborating with local rappers like Keith Cowboy, born in 1960, died in 1989, and Mel Mel, born in 1961, and eventually formed the group of rappers known as Grandmaster Flash and the 3 MCs, and later known as Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5. Incidentally, Cowboy is credited with coining the word hip-hop, and Mel Mel was the first to refer to himself as a Master of Ceremony, or capital M, capital C, MC. Figure 4. Pictured here are Grandmaster Flash and his Furious 5. Flash, who's in the center, was an influential turntablist and MC operating near the beginning of the hip-hop era. In 1979, they released the song Super Rappin', and in 1982, after numerous subsequent releases, they put out The Message, which reached number 4 on the R&B charts. Evolution. After its inception during the late 1970s, hip-hop developed through the following phases: the second wave, around 1983, the golden age, around 1987, and gangster rap, around 1992. The first commercially successful hip-hop song is widely regarded to be Sugar Hill Gang's 1979 hit called Rapper's Delight. Although not the first to feature rapping, its popularity introduced hip-hop culture to mainstream America. Here are the opening lines to the song.
I said a hip hop, the hip it to the hip hop, you don't stop the rockin' to the bang bang boogie, say up jump the boogie.
The second wave. Hip-hop's first big makeover came around 1983 to 1984 with the introduction of drum machines and beatboxing. This era was marked by artists such as Run DMC and LL Cool J. A drum machine is an electronic sound generator that produces sampled drum sounds and can be programmed to play drum patterns. Their sound was critical to the aesthetic of second-wave hip-hop. The most famous drum machine is the Roland 808. Beatboxing is a manner of scat-singing drum beats via percussive mouth, hand, and voice action. For example, the rap groups Run DMC and the Fat Boys were famous beatboxers. Run DMC's debut album, King of Rock, which came out in 1985, went platinum, making it the first hip-hop album to do so. The song called King of Rock was the lead-off single. Figure 5. Run DMC was an influential hip-hop group operating during the second wave of hip-hop that occurred around 1983 to 1984. The Golden Age. Hip-hop peaked in popularity and influence between the mid-1980s and the early 1990s. This period saw the rise of artists like Public Enemy, KRS-One, and a tribe called Quest. Public Enemy formed in New York City in 1985 and consists of MC Chuck D, born in 1960, and a revolving cast of turntablists. Public Enemy's debut album, Yo Bum Rush the Show, came out in 1987 and is widely regarded to be one of the most influential hip-hop albums. Its breakbeats were created by the famous band of producers known as the Bomb Squad. Gangster rap. A prominent subgenre called gangster rap emerged during hip-hop's golden age, which was the late 1980s and early 1990s. Artists like Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg began focusing their lyrics on the criminal elements encountered in some black neighborhoods. To an unprecedented degree, gangster rap lyrics use street slang and obscene language to explore the following themes: boasting, violence, street life, and sex. Nothing But a G-Thang by Dr. Dre, which came out in 1992, featured Snoop Dogg, and was part of the album called The Chronic, and is perhaps the most famous gangster rap song. Figure 6. Dr. Dre is an influential American rapper, and probably the most important gangster rap artist. His 1992 album, The Chronic, is certified triple platinum. Conclusion. Hip-hop, like blues, jazz, and rhythm and blues before it, continues the tradition of African Americans inventing new and influential forms of pop music. Compared to these other styles, hip-hop may be the most original and inventive of the group. Indeed, no other form of music in human history features anything like breakbeats or rapping. Hip-hop is one of humanity's most extraordinary artistic inventions. Quiz. Question 1. What are the 4 elements of hip-hop? A. Breakdancing, producing, breakbeating, and turntabling. B. Graffiti painting, b-boying, tape splicing, and rapping. C. Turntabling, emceeing, graffiti writing, and breakdancing. Or D. Turntabling, breakbeating, rapping, and party blocking. The answer is C. Turntabling, emceeing, graffiti writing, and breakdancing. These activities make up the 4 elements of hip-hop culture, which are represented by the following artist types: disc jockeys, MCs, breakdancers, and graffiti writers. Question 2. What was the main point of this presentation? A. Hip-hop is perhaps the most remarkable invention in human history. B. Hip-hop has been remarkably influential to American culture and features 2 brand new musical elements, breakbeats and rapping. C. Hip-hop has been remarkably influential to artistic culture and features 2 brand new musical elements, break popping and melodic phasing. Or D. Hip-hop is the ancestor to modern jazz and blues. The answer is B. Hip-hop has been remarkably influential to American culture and features 2 brand new musical elements, breakbeats and rapping. No other form of music in human history features anything like breakbeats and rapping. Hip-hop is one of humanity's most extraordinary artistic inventions. Question 3. The rap music concept first evolved among itinerant blank, who mixed pre-recorded hits using 2 turntables while egging on the crowd and calling out dancers. A. DJs, B. breakdancers, C. b-boys, or D. graffiti writers. The answer is A. DJs. Disc jockeys, also known as DJs, street DJs, or turntablists, were the most important element to the inception of hip-hop. This is because they owned the sound systems that were critical to the success of the block parties, and because they had the turntabling skills that were critical to the aesthetics of the music. Question 4. Which turntablist invented the technique of beat matching? A. DJ Kool Herc, B. Grandmaster Flash, C. Chuck D, or D. Dr. Dre. The answer is A. DJ Kool Herc. Herc invented one of the most important techniques of turntablism, the technique of beat matching. Here's his quote: "I'm going to try something new tonight. I'm going to call it the merry-go-round." Question 5. Which turntablist invented the technique of backspinning? A. DJ Kool Herc, B. Grandmaster Flash, C. Chuck D, or D. Dr. Dre. The answer is B. Grandmaster Flash. Flash studied closely the techniques of turntablism developed by DJ Kool Herc and improved upon those techniques in his own approach to professional DJing. Question 6. Which turntabling technique involves accurately returning a record to the beginning of a musical passage to create a loop? A. Backspinning, B. Scratching, C. Punch phrasing, or D. Beat matching? The answer is A. Backspinning. To do this technique, the turntablist cycles a record back to the beginning of a musical figure to create a loop while playing the same record simultaneously on the other turntable. Question 7. Which of the following factors most contributed to second wave hip-hop? A. Drum machines, B. Freestyle rapping, C. New turntabling techniques, or D. Improved breakdancing moves? The answer is A. Drum machines. Hip-hop's first big makeover came around 1983 to 1984 with the introduction of drum machines and beatboxing. Question 8. Where did hip-hop originate? A. Chicago, B. New York City, C. Los Angeles, or D. New Orleans? The answer is B. New York City. Its genesis occurred during neighborhood block parties held in the Bronx borough of New York City. At these parties, DJs played funk, soul, and disco music through sound systems while people danced, drank, and socialized. Question 9. Which artist is associated with hip-hop's golden age? A. Grandmaster Flash, B. DJ Kool Herc, C. Chuck D, or D. Keith Cowboy? The answer is C. Chuck D. Chuck D is the main member of Public Enemy, and his 1987 album, Yo Bum Rush the Show, is a landmark hip-hop record, marking the genre's turn towards harder-edge subjects and violence. Question 10. This style of rap used street slang and profanity to an unprecedented degree. A. Gangster rap, B. Southern rap, C. Crunk, or D. Glitch hop? The answer is A. Gangster rap. A prominent subgenre called gangster rap emerged during hip-hop's golden age, which was the late 1980s and early 1990s. Artists like Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg began focusing their lyrics on the criminal element encountered in some black neighborhoods. Did you remember to keep track of your score? Please review all the material again if you missed any questions. Thanks for watching. I hope you got something from this video.